these projects do not have high economic benefits for the country. What they have is high profitability benefits for the owners of capital. So there is a connection, direct, between their personal business benefits and the borrowing. Those things will not raise the productivity of the economy at all.
This is really a great place to ask the question of the economy, because if the political system is so entrenched in how the economy runs, we have seen what the past 5 years have done in terms of the level of debt that we are accruing. Whether or not there are economists who say that it is debt that we can handle, that we can shoulder, right? If this political process doesn't do that, then what do we say about the economy?
I think the economic structure, and this is a theme I have belabored, I've probably beaten to death over the last 10, 15 years. Our political system, I say, what we have is, if you look at our state, is a state which is captured by business interests. It's by a chronic capitalist class. Now, the nature of that chronic capitalist class is that when you are owner of capital, your interest is return on capital. Return on capital is called profit. Now, there is a conflict between the kind of economic system which generates a high return on capital and the kind of economic system that generates incomes and jobs for people. Okay? So as long as our system is captured by a chronic capitalist class, they cannot implement the sort of economic transformation that we need to create an inclusive economy, income and jobs for the masses.
So let's stare at the edge now.
Yeah.
You've defined the problem very well, but look at what the
I'm coming to the debt, to understand where debt fits in.
Yes.
You see, if you look at the debt that we have incurred, and if you look at this language of the business, of we talk about economy, is infrastructure. Now, infrastructure, if you're building this sort of infrastructure, if you're talking about infrastructure, and the mega infrastructure projects that we've been borrowing for, they are intended, their main sort of benefit is to increase efficiency of the existing economy. So you said we put a railway, a new railway, we're even talking about putting a highway, but now that railway, it has not attracted any new investment. You don't hear factories which are coming to create jobs because there is a new railway line. It was not justified that it will open up new agricultural areas which will raise agricultural productivity and employment. It is that it will lower the cost of doing business. The cost of doing business for who?
For the same people.
For the owners of capital. So there is a connection, direct, between their personal business benefits and the borrowing and the projects they see as projects which have which they sell to the public as projects which have high economic benefits. And I have argued that these projects do not have high economic benefits for the country. What they have is high profitability benefits for the owners of capital. And the projects that we need, the investments we need, are the investments which raise the productivity of the poor.
Social capital.
No, economic investments.
Okay.
Because when you talk about economic growth and prosperity of a country, economically, as an economist, it boils down to productivity of labor productivity. That's what it boils down to. So that's when you ask yourself, where is your labor force? Now, where your labor force is, what would raise the productivity of that labor force? Now, if you look at where most of our labor force is in smallholder agriculture still, where the productivity potential. So you want to invest in the infrastructure and all the economic benefits, which increase your average yield per cow from 1,300 liters per year, which is what it is now, to something like 3,000 liters per year, even though the potential is something like 6,000 per year. But those things are not going to make a lot of money for the owners of capital. They're not going to make money for the people who are building two rivers. They're not going to make money for people like Brookside, who look at their business and what they see is how much their maintenance costs and high cost of transporting milk and all sorts of things. So they see the cost of power and things like that. Those are things we are talking them about. Those things will not raise the productivity of the economy at all. They will just increase the profitability of existing capital.
Then, look, as a person who is in the median age of this country, 19, listening to this interview and hearing that the owners of capital, crony capitalists as you call them, don't have an interest in ensuring that they become more productive, therefore that they can spread the wealth, whether it's in food, whether it's in money for education, whether it's in their own livelihoods. What hope can they have for the future in this country?
I have had a bit of engagement in sort of writing and social media with these people and telling them exactly that. And you can see the confusion because they are conflicted. On the one hand, they're the ones who have embraced this political leadership and they bought into this mega infrastructure. They're the ones who have been enjoying joyrides on the SGR and sort of attacking those of us who have been saying that these are not these are the investment. This is not the economic model that's going to create opportunities for the thousands and actually millions of young people that we are putting into the labor force. And so the question is what is their hope? Quite frankly, not very much. They are these sort of systems, because once they become this entrenched, and you see that they've now captured the politics, they are very difficult to approach. So very often what they finally do is implode economically. It takes a long time. But they implode economically. With the kind of demographic we have, it's the sort of thing that's exactly what happened in West Africa, in that wave of political uprisings you saw from Liberia, whatever, to Cote d'Ivoire, that sort of thing. The 90s managed to contain this here quite a bit better because of liberalization. The massive liberalization, what it did is create a lot of opportunity, trading opportunities in particular in the informal sector. So if you look at the 90s, since 90s, all our labor force entrants have been absorbed by the informal sector economy and created a sort of informal economy, which is whatever. But now that economy is able to create survival livelihoods, but it does not create anything in terms of aspirations of these young people, and it has no social mobility, which is what is bothering them. They do not see. What they see is previous generations which were smaller and were able to get absorbed by the patronage economy, either in the state sector or in the corporate economy, and have some sort of semblance of social mobility. But now, this system cannot do that anymore. It can't. Now, unless you shake it up economically, quite fundamentally, it cannot. But the kind of shake-up it needs runs completely counter to the interests of this crony capitalist sort of class. Yeah. So this crony capitalist class, somehow it thinks that I guess it's very difficult for those people to see the economy or any other prism other than through their own interests, because they have their own economic interest. I think the big difference between these people, if we look at the East Asian transformative sort of leaders we like to look at, is none of them were business people. They completely sort of separated politics and business. Here we have completely combined the two. As long as politics and business is combined, the capacity, the ability to sort of create a competitive economy which is sort of creating opportunity for a large mass of young people is very difficult.
Okay. Let's leave it there for now. All right? Thank you very much. There's a lot more that we can talk about, but yeah.